Hello everyone. Thanks for joining another streaming. Today we are going to continue working in the redesign of the Xamarin.Forms core gallery application. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, in Xamarin.Forms we have a mobile application, a Xamarin.Forms application that we use to test everything. So we have galleries to test, for example, all the properties or all the events in collection view. And we also have some issues replication to validate that we fixed an issue. We have a UI test and other stuff necessary to just validate everything in Xamarin.Forms. So this application started with the framework in 2014, and the design have not changed too much in the last year. So the look and feel, we are going to take a look at the actual look and feel. This is actually the same than we had some years ago. And I thought that would be a nice idea just to do some streams, updating the user interface of this framework to something more, more modern, more actual, more fresh. So that's the idea for today. So let's start it. So first of all, as always, I try to allow you to choose what you want to see in this streaming. And in the last poll that I released in Twitter, we talked about this application. At the moment, it's a separate repo, but at the end, the idea is to merge everything in the official Xamarin.Forms core gallery application. But for now, it's just a separate repo because in this way we can just, have all the streamings, play with every idea, with different concepts, and then when we have everything completed and validated, just move on and send a PR to Xamarin.Forms to update the look and feel of the application. So far, what I have is just what you are seeing in this gif. We have the main core gallery application where we can see all the projects or the showcases, access to the test case and access to every gallery that we have for every control, every view, and every option included in Xamarin.Forms. And in the poll the last day, I asked what you want to see today. If you want to see more views, create more views, or if you want to see the property pane editor. With more views, I'm talking about, for example, create views for get access to all the issues or get access to the details and every gallery inside a specific control. For example, access to the button gallery and see, hey, you have a get started gallery to just test the properties. You have a events gallery to test, the click it and all the events and all this stuff. And with the property pane editor idea, I'm not sure if it was all clear in just 3 words in this tweet. But well, the idea is very nice. If you take the type of one of the control, one of the views, or from views, for example, take the button and extract all the properties from the button with the property name, of course, and the property type and all this stuff to just create a form that allow us to use, modify, and edit any of the properties, specific properties of the control. So, for example, in the case of the button, just modify the background color, the text, the corner radius, and all this stuff. It's another interesting topic that we will not see today because the most voted option was create more views, and that's the idea for today. Just create more views. Oh, very low. Okay, let me take a look. Sorry. Hmm. let me take a look to the configuration. So I'm just trying to take a look to the settings, the audio settings. Hello, hello, hello. It's now better. So no better. Hello, hello. Okay, just a sec. Um, so hmm. Hello, hello. It's now better. Hello, hello. Okay, perfect. So I guess that I was using the computer mic and not the specific mic that I'm using for the streaming. Sorry about that. Thanks so much for letting me know. So very quickly, if you have not heard what I talked some minutes ago, I just say that I shared this poll on Twitter just to ask what you want to see if you continue creating more views in this application. That the idea is to complete it in this separate repo to play and work around different ideas without any restrictions here. And when we complete it, the idea is to use send a PR to the Xamarin.Forms repo to update the appearance of the Xamarin.Forms core gallery. So probably we will continue doing more screens in other streamings because there are like 6-7 important screens. My idea for today is try to recreate 2 or 3 more screens. We'll see how much we can achieve. And then about property pane editor is a nice idea because it just get the type of one specific controls, for example, a button, and stack all the properties with the property name and all the property types to use dynamically create a form to allow to modify all the properties of a control. For example, in the case of the button, allow to use, for example, with a slider, modify the corner radius, with the color picker, change the background color and all this stuff. So thanks so much for letting me know about the audio, and let's start. So what's my idea for today? First of all, let me launch what we have so far. It's not too much, but well, it's a good starting point. Can we see a template in a collection view with context actions? So I don't know what kind of context action you want to use, but the main idea in this case is use swipe view. So you use swipe view inside a template inside the template of the collection view. Will be used in every item. So you can define contextual action that you can access to it with a swipe gesture,
Of course, you can open it or close it programmatically too. But the idea is that you can create contextual action in the left side or right side or in both sides. And in fact, you can create contextual action in around all the corners. You can create items in the top, bottom, left, and right. So without a template, I can make with X reference and building context. Without a template, so you can use templates and also directly you can just inject directly content. And about X reference, you can use X reference if you want to access to, for example, the building context of the page of or one of the parents. And remember that recently we included also the relative source. That is an interesting option in this case. If you want to access, for example, to the building context of the parent, with relative source is very, very easy. So I had, well, this is so far what we have today. I'm going to spend a couple of minutes to see what you want to see, Jorge, probably. And very quickly, what I'm going to try to create today. So if you see here, we have a test case option. And well, the idea is just try to create the test case list. I will show you how this looks today in Core Gallery. Then I don't want this screen as the main screen. I want something like a welcome view, welcome page. In the welcome page, use a very simple page with mainly two buttons. One of them will allow to navigate to explore the core gallery samples that at the end is navigate to this view, and the other option is to navigate to the what's new. So I think that also this application could be very useful, not only to just explore what's possible. For example, I was talking about swipe view some minutes ago, not just to explore what's possible with swipe view in a easy way, just download application, get the launching in the device and test everything, but also maybe it's interesting to be up to date about everything. So what's new could be something like a section with a timeline, and in this timeline we can just show what's the different features and fixes that we release with every version. So in this timeline you can see, hey, what's happening 4.6 version, what's happening in 4.5, what's happened. And I think that is also interesting in this application. So we will start with test case, then we will try to create the welcome page, then we will try to create the timeline, and if we have time, that I'm not pretty sure that we will have enough time for that. As you can see, we have here all the controls, and the idea is now when I tap in any of the controls, nothing is happening, but the idea is that we navigate, for example, to a box view gallery, and in the box view gallery you can see and can access to all the samples related with box view. I'm talking about, for example, to getting started with, you see the basic properties, and corner radius gallery to play with corner radius and all this stuff. And well, at the end it's just different sections, use detailed different options in every control. So this is today in Core Gallery. Let me launch what we have today in Core Gallery to see the difference and how much we can improve the look and feel. So the 4-page that I will love to create is the detail gallery. Okay. Now let me just stop our mobile application to move to the real core gallery, that is this this project that you can find today inside the Xamarin.Forms repo. Let me launch core gallery in, for example, the Android emulator, and while this is launching, Let me navigate very quickly to some of the gallery that is related with what we talked about. So we have, for example, gallery page, and we have different swipe view galleries. So Jorge asked about collection view. So let me navigate to the collection view. Probably you are using a vertical collection view, and you can create contextual options in this way. So you will use the collection view. Let me know if the font size is good enough, or if I must increase it. So collection view, then you can use, of course, an item template inside the collection view to define what will be the appearance of every item. In this case, this data template is defining what is the look and feel of every item. So this is what I talked about. We have, this is the look and feel of the current core gallery. Or go to test case section with with the back icon and all the stuff that we have seen before in the previous sample. Is this go to test case, and the list with different options, icons of every control, etc. is this list. So if we navigate to any gallery, in this case I'm navigating to the web view gallery, we're trying to cover everything. So we have, as you can see, test with the common case, testing in this case swipe view outside of any collection, of course, like this case. But this case is just to validate that you can swipe to any direction, like in this way. But of course, we created other galleries just using, in this case, swipe view with the common scenarios, and one of them is use swipe view inside the collection view. So this is inside collection view. This is the appearance of every data template of every item. What you are seeing here is that is the swipe view content. This is not necessary. You can define directly the grid, but then you can define contextual options in every direction, left, right, top, and bottom. In this case, we are defining in the left a favorite option, and in the right another one. In this case, I'm using to access to the command of a command in the view model, X reference, as you mentioned it, Jorge. I think that you was talking about that. And well, I can swipe, tap. This is favorite, and also I can just execute some commands to do it. The same can be done just using relative source. So in this case, the sample is very close, very similar. We are using a collection view, we are defining the appearance in the item template, and in the item template we are defining a swipe view. In this case, this sample is this one. So we are defining here this is swipe view that you can see just a grid with a background yellow and a simple label with a test swipe view. When I tap the swipe view, you can see that here appears last tapped item, lorem ipsum 4. If I scroll and tap the 33, we execute the command and just state the item. So the command that we are executing is this swipe item command that we can find the swipe in the binding context in the view model. And in this case, we are using binding source, relative source, and in this case, accessing to the ancestor type of the view model. So you can use that. Relative source is very powerful. I remember that I wrote an article in the official blog talking just specific about relative source, the different options, and etc. And yeah, you can support different options with different modes also too. That is also other of the questions in the chat. So I hope that with this I solved your question, Jorge. And now let's move to the design of more views. I don't know if you have any preference, if you want to start with in order. Test case, welcome timeline, for me is a good order. But if you want to start with other one, just write in the chat, hey, I want to see previously, I don't know, the detail page, for example. So to create this sample, I'm not following any specific design with, all the navigation defined, all the screens, the guidelines, etc. What I'm just using is, replicating other well-known design that works very, very well, and looking for inspiration in Dribble. So in this case, for the welcome page, I will like to create something like this. Of course, not with orange. we will use purple, but we will have a beautiful background. Hello to Xamarin, welcome to Xamarin.Forms, and the sign up button could be what's new, and the singing button will be something like discover the gallery. Then for the timeline, I really like this design. It's not too much complex, but I really like to mix some controls, like for example here, to see the detail. Imagine that this is Xamarin.Forms 4.6 version, and you can just tap to expand all the details of this version. In this case, what I'm talking about is I will love to use the expander contour mixing with other contours to create this view. So this is something that I really want to create today. Welcome page. This will be the timeline. And about issues, we'll use a style very, very similar to this, but to show every issue. So let's start, for example, with this, and I will follow this order to access to the test case or issues. And I think that is a good order because we probably will reuse many things from the data template of every issue in the timeline. So Jorge asked again, when I talked about a collection, I mean a list of items, for example cards, and having a favorite button and getting that item from the list. I don't know if I mean it. I'm sorry. No, don't sorry for your English. And please, when I don't know to say the building context. Thanks for all, Javier. Okay, so you just have a button inside the data template. Are you using for the cards, for example, a carousel view? If you are using, for example, a carousel view, if you want to use contextual options, again, you must use, one option very nice to use in this case is swipe view. Of course, you can use it with carousel too. Let me launch it, and if not, let me show you how you can do that. Come on. So let me go again to the swipe view gallery, and let me use, this is a carousel, as you can see, and I can just swipe, for example, up or down just to access, for example, to a favorite option. This is very, very close to what we have seen in the swipe view collection view sample, just using in this case a carousel. And if what you want to see is, for example, how to use a relative source, sorry, let me change the search. So if you want to see how to use a relative source using in a list, something like this is a good sample. So let me go. So this is test case, is the design that we will start doing. As you can see, it's an enormous list with use all the test case that we created to validate issues from the old Bookzilla, from GitHub, and in some case known not mean that, for example, just testing something specific. For example, the first issue is related with the frame border radius. If we detect that there are other issues, for example, related with that, for example, the shadow is not drawing, so there aren't any GitHub issue created, but in this case, what we do some cases use create a sample to validate the two case. In other case, I just create the issue directly in GitHub, but well, this is an option. So in our design, we will need to create a search bar, some filter options, and have a nice collection with a very big list of options. So to complete the relative source sample, I will navigate to this issue. So what you are seeing here is a list view in this case. So you can do exactly the same with a bin.table layout or with a collection view. But in this case, well, we are using just a list view. And in the list view, we have directly buttons. When I press the buttons, as you see, I'm just removing employees. So we have a list of employee. By default, the binding context of all this stuff is an employee. So we don't have any command inside the employee entity. And for that, what we are doing is use a relative source, in this case to the view model. The view model is the binding context of the page, and then use access to the command. So this is the view model, and as you can see, the command is not related with every employee, that is just this entity. Okay, and in this case, well, use access to the employees list and remove one. Okay, I hope that helps. If not, we can take a look with more details. And now what I'm going to do is just navigate, create test case view. Test case view will be our view with all the issues. So I created the page. When we move all this stuff, all these styles and content to the official core gallery, we will reuse the logic, the actual logic for the navigation and for all this stuff. In this case, I'm just creating a very basic MVVM implementation. I'm not using any framework, just very basic MVVM settings. And I will continue doing that just to reduce the time that we spend just creating stuff like models and view models and all this stuff, and put the focus on the view. But let's create everything necessary to navigate to this view very quickly. Okay, so for that, let's navigate to the gallery view. Let me launch the application. So this is the header. We don't need the header. This is the search part, and this is the test case. As you can see, the test case is just a frame, so we cannot use invoke a command or something like that tapping the frame. But as probably many of you know, we can use the gestures recognizers to include a tap gesture recognizer to detect a tap, and detecting the tap, we can invoke a command. That will be nice, but for that we need to create a navigation service mapping views and view models, and just use the view model type from the service in the view model. In this case, to just accelerate all the process, I will use the event, and I will create a new event that will be on, in this case, test case, tap it. Let's clean this a little bit. This is an object and the system is not necessary, and we are going to use the navigation object to do a push modal, because in the original application it's just a modal. navigate into the test case. Okay, so we need, of course, in the models, something like issue that define what is an issue. And for the issues, if I launch the original, I don't know if I will be able to, no, it's impossible to find code gallery inside all these Xamarin.Forms projects. Let me launch it very quickly again, because I just want to know what we will need to define an issue. Remember, mostly in these times compiling, that you can ask whatever you want or share any kind of feedback. So this is test case, and as you can see, we have an identifier, we have a description, and we have also the provider of the issue, if it comes from GitHub or other side, and also the affected platforms, if the issue is only happens in Android, if it's happening, I don't know, in iOS and other stuff. So definitely we need an identifier, we need a description, we need provider, and for that we need to create something like issue provider, that will be, in this case, an enum. We will have different options like none, Bookzilla, these are all issues, and GitHub, that is the actual provider. So we will have a provider, and also we have the platforms affected. In this case, probably it's a good idea to create a list and create something like public class issue platform, and this will have something like, let's create an enum to define the platforms. Platform, so we have issues about Android, about iOS, about Windows, but we have also macOS, Tizen, GTK, and what I'm forgetting? Oh, GliPF also. So this is the platform. We will have the platform, and now we can use directly define a list of platforms. It could be just one platform, or the issue could be affected in several platforms, like the issue happens in Android and iOS, for example. So we will have the platforms here. Okay, this is enough. Now let's move to the service. I created, as you can see, a fake service here, and I'm going to create another fake service related, in this case, with the issues. I will call it issue service, and will be a singleton, because at the moment we are not using any container to manage the dependencies and all this stuff, and we will have only a method that will return a collection of issue that is in models. That's nice. So get issues. Cool. Now we are going to use directly return a new list of issues, And to get a good list without spending too much time, probably we can do something like this. We can create a fake data, just creating an iteration from E0, E1000, for example, and then just we will include in the issues collection a new issue. Let's define, oh sorry, I navigated to the other service. Just define this the issue here. So the ID will be, let's imagine that all the issues come from GitHub, and well, E+1. Then description will be something very very beautiful, like lorem ipsum. The provider will be GitHub. We can create a method to extract, random providers and all this stuff. The same with platforms. That probably is a very good option. But in this case, I just want to have data very quickly. So let me create something quickly, like Android. Of course, not all the issues are from Android and not everything from GitHub. Probably we will need to refactor this a little bit later. Remember that it's just a fake service. It's just creating something to expose something close to the real data and just to create the UI, but it's not it's not the real service. So let's launch this. Okay, we have an error here with the tapped event, and we will need other thing. We have the templates defined for the gallery items and for the showcase. I'm going to create another forms content view to define every issue item template. Good. And with this, I think that we have everything ready to just start working and create the UI just using hot reload. Well, wait, we need to bind the things from our service to the test case view. For that, I'm going to create a view model. So I'm going to create a test case view model. Come on. I don't have a view model base, so for the moment I just will use bindable object that give me the necessary to use the iNotify property chain. I will use observable collection with issues, and I'm going to create just a collection of issues. So this namespace, also this one. Let's create the public property. I know, nothing very excited until this moment. We are just creating fake data and exposing the data. So this is the get, this is the set. Okay, notify the property chain. Cool. Now we are going to create a method called load the issues. At the moment will not be an async method, but probably we can fake that. Just waiting a random time between I don't know, 200 milliseconds and 1 second or something like that. But well, at the moment I will just do something like issue service. Let's resolve the service, access to the instance, and get the issues. And our issues is an observable collection. We can create a extension method to do something like that well, but also we can just do that, and we will load the issues at the beginning. So now in our test case that is here, we need to define the content page binding context will be test case view model. Let's solve this namespace, and now if I don't miss anything, I'm correct that we can just launch the sample in the emulator and create the UI we're using Hot2Load. Okay, so if we press test case, we navigate to the beautiful empty test case page that we are going to just define now. So we want to allow scroll in all the header or not. This is the first question. So as you can see, no, because in the original one we scroll the list, but we always see the header with the search bar and also with the filters option. So okay, let's create that. Come on, we launch it. Then we navigate to the test case and let's start creating. I'm going to create a grid. We'll create different rows. So for example, the first row will be the header with the search bar, and the second one will be the list. So the height of the list will be the rest of the space that will not occupy the header. So now for the header, I probably want to use something similar to the main page where we have also a search bar. So I'm going to go to the search view, and we have some comments as you can see here and there, and this is the search. I'm going to copy the search and go then in the search bar we are going to reuse it. In this case, the search board, we have some styles here and there, so we need to define the content page resource. I'm not sure if we are going to reuse this style in more place. In this case, we definitely need to move these styles to the them, and if it's different, that I guess that probably will be a little bit different, we need to create another style. So here we don't have the models namespace. The models namespace is this one. So let's include the model namespace in the test case. Good. With this we fix the access to the search glib defined in a class. And now for the search border, let me take a look to the original style. It's all this, and probably will change a little bit. Let me just reuse a big part of the style. Okay, let's navigate to the test case, and we have the search bar here in the bottom side of the page. Cool. Let's ordenate this a little bit. First of all, we need a header. For the header, we will use an image that we are also using here. That is this image used in the header. So let's create the header of the test case. This will be the grid row 0, and then we will need probably something like another row, and with something very simple like this, we have a very basic header and the search bar. Cool. Now I want to set a title and more information about what's that. So in the header, let's align this better. we are going to define, not sure if we'll need, probably only need a label, but let's create a container, and in the container we are going to create a text, and here we will just set the title like Xamarin.Forms test cases. This will look very ugly because we need to create a beautiful style to define how we want to show this test. So this is the test case header test style, and we are styling a label. So we will use this style in this label. Okay, and I'm going to use okay, we are not using any specific font for the moment, so we will include probably in another stream, not today. We are going to continue just setting the basic properties like the property text color. We'll use a weight color. Weight color is just a resource that we have defined in the dictionaries. Then we need to define more properties like something like that. Let me copy the same. So we will need the font size. The font size probably will be medium, and we need to set some margins like 12:0. Let's see how this looks. Okay, better. And now the container, this grid is using the first row. I really like to use and set specific colors to see what's the size of the things, and in this case you can see that the size is all the header size. So now, knowing that, we can use set the vertical alignment of the text to the center, and that's better. Okay, so we are in this case, we have the search bar. This is good. We need to define the filters, and we need to define the the list of the test case. For the filters, I'm going to just continue here defining another row. So this row will be the filters row, and this is the header. Okay, and this is used by the search bar. Okay, so let's continue now defining here after the frame. So just to help you to follow the sample, this is the search bar, this is the header content, and now we are going to define after the search bar the filters. And for the filters, I have a very simple idea of something simple that I think that will work very well, and is just use a collection view. I know, sounds weird, but we will use a collection view, and for the test case list, you probably know that what I'm going to use, but yeah, I'm going to use another collection view because it will be a very huge list, and we need good performance to manage this. So this is a contextual navigation. So we navigate in this way. It's very fine. We can press the back button in iOS, but in fact we will need to set an X icon to close this here. Okay, we will leave this for a little bit later. And now we are going to use set the item source of this list to the, do you remember the view model that we created with the fake issues that is here? So we are going to just bind the list to the list of the issues. And also, do you remember that we define a issue item template that is a content view? At the moment it's an empty content view. We are going to use this item template here. We can do that in different ways. We can define a data template here in the resource, or we can just directly in the collection views use the item template property, define a data template, and inside use our issue item template. Cool. So, well, let's validate the size. This is background red. This will not have a Ike. This will be something like probably 60 or not too much. So yeah, this is our filter section, and this is the list of the issues. Okay, we need one important thing for the filter and one important thing for the for the filter. We need two things. One of them, we need the filter libs, the filter option from somewhere. In this case, I'm going to return in the view model a list of filters. We can use, remember that we created in the issue the issue provider. So I'm going to use the issue provider here, and just create another collection with issue provider. This will be filters, come on, and filters, that's fine. And now we need to fill this collection. So for that, I'm going to create just, for example, a void load filters. Okay, we will load the filters, of course, here too. And let's define the list of these filters. Is use filters will be a collection with the following option. We will return I don't remember there. Bootzilla is the first one, then gtab and none. Well, we can maintain the same order. So Bootzilla, then gtab, and then none. Good, cool. Let me refactor this a little bit. That's fine. So what also we need? We need data template to define the appearance of every filter. So what's the idea? Anyone capture what's the idea? The idea is to create a horizontal collection view with multiple selection, and we will just use inside a frame with corner radius to define every filter. And for example, we can use visual state. I don't know if you know about visual state, but we talked about it the past week, and it's a nice place to use visual state and use the selected state to change the appearance of the item and indicate what are the filters selected. But in this way, we have a data template where we can define the filter as complex and as beautiful as we want. So I'm going to create another content view. In this case, will be filter item template. Okay, let me clean a little bit, and I think that now we have everything that we need. Let's launch again. Let's launch again and see if we can complete now this view. I think that yes. So I'm taking a look sometimes to the chat. Remember, if you have any feedback, question, or whatever, use ask. Or if you want to do something that we are doing in another way or use another approach, just let me know. I'm open to other approach. So this is our view. At the moment it's not fantastic, but let's move to the test case view. So let's remove this background color that is not necessary, and then in this second collection view we are going to define the items layout. Why I'm defining the items layout? Well, because I want to use a linear item layout and I want to define the orientation to horizontal. By the way, I think that use the spacing is fine to just set a little bit space between the items. And to use our template that we created some minutes ago, we can use the item template, and inside a data template use the filter item template. Cool. I am refreshing, and now I need to test case view model. That's fine. I need to bind this collection view to the I don't remember the name. Was filters? Yeah, filters and issues are the main properties. So this is filters and issues. Okay. So we are not seeing anything because we have empty template. So we can start with whatever. For example, I think that the issue one will be a easy one. Let's start creating a grid, and if we define, for example, a background color red, we must see 1000 of items here. So, but we don't want that. We want to use a frame. Of course, we will define some custom styles to customize the appearance of the item. So let me see. Okay, we are using this in the correct place, right? So we have the collection view, the page is binded to the correct view model, test case view model. Okay, test case view model, and then we are binding to the filters, and we are binding to the issue. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so in the ISO item template, we are going to use a frame. We need a beautiful style for this frame. So what we need in this case, I want something like this, but with corner reducing all the corners, not use alignment to the right, like in this timeline, because we don't have the timeline in fact. So well, I'm going to use the target type will be a frame. The key of the style will be something like issue container style. We can assign this style here, and then let's start. I want color radius of 12. Let's start with this. Let's include here the binding to the identifier to see something. I don't remember if you call it identifier or ID. Was ID. Okay, so let's move to the issue item template, and this is ID. Yeah, identifier is not found. Okay, so let's continue. So this is the issue frame. Well, yeah, frame is fine. And we will use an style for the main container that will be the grid. In the grid, I want to set a margin of 12, for example. Let's test with this in this case. Okay, so let me stop this. I think that I'm refreshing the thread many times. I don't know why, but let's stop it. So yeah, we need the ID, the description, and that's all. So let's execute again. We need two labels. One of them will be the ID, the other one will be binded to the description. What's wrong? Oh, whoa, so many errors. This could not be right. So what's happening? Let me launch it again. So let's stop it this one, and in this case try to deploy building. No, we have definitely some error somewhere. Oh, issue frame styles don't exist. Yeah, I changed the name, but don't change the reference. So this is issue frame. Oh no. What's happening? I don't know, but something is blocking typing. Let me be sure that nothing is happening in the background. So yeah, let's close and relaunch this very quickly. Yeah, and I launch Xamarin.Forms gallery. I leave the old gallery debugging and running in the background. I'm not sure if this was doing something or not, but yeah, let's launch this very quickly. So this is the issue main container, and this could be the secondary container. The main container is the grid, so I apply the style to the grid, and the secondary container is the frame. Let's launch this. Of course, we will need much more properties in these styles, but well, what's wrong? Oh, this thickness is not right. Now it's correct. Cool. Okay, let's navigate to the test case. Well, it's not beautiful. we must improve that. We will need a grid inside this frame because I want to define different rows. So this is the first label. I will define a second label that will bind to the description, and then I probably can use here use, for example, the paving. I don't want the I-get paving that we have by default. I want to manage everything myself. So yeah, now we can define a grid row, the first row will be used by the ID. The second row will be used by the description. So this will be write row 1. Yep. Thank you so much. The copy paste and forget about that. Havamoa, I'm pronouncing it correctly. So thanks so much for letting me know. The first style was not working. For that, we don't have the padding here and here. So that's correct. Now we can define something like this. Now the padding in this case will be much smaller, something like this is good enough. Then the background color, white is not a good color because we can change the them, and changing the them, the appearance must be also good enough. And for that we have the secondary background color. So we will use in the style of the frame, we'll just set the background color to the dynamic source. Remember that this can change, changing the them. So we are going to use the background secondary color. Okay. Then next question, we will use shadows or not. By default, I'm not setting shadows in the main page, so I'm removing it. But removing it don't look as good as I want. That's because we don't have set the background color here to the main background color that we have defined in the them. Let's improve this a little bit. Okay. Well, we definitely must to change these colors. So we have the background color defined here. We have this background color here. Let's use shadows for now. Okay. So the background color. Okay. Cool. We must improve this UI, and for that we need to change the color and font size of these two labels. And for that I'm just creating two styles. The target type will be label in both cases. The first one will be the issue ID style, and the second one will be the issue description style. So for the ID will be assigned here, and for the description will be used here. Okay. So margin 12.6 and 12.6, for example. Okay, in the first case, we have also two colors defined for the text color. So for the text color in the styles, we are defining a text primary color and secondary color. So we will use the primary color in this case in the title, and we'll use the secondary color in the second case. Okay. What's the secondary color in this case? I think that the secondary color is just more lighter. Okay, let's continue a little bit. So now the font size, this font size will be small, and the other one will be the smallest one, that is micro. Okay, let's see what we have so far. We have an error here. Okay. So open test case, and we have something like this. Okay, probably it's a good idea to take and pick some colors. For example, well, I use for that an application that is called Color Slurp that allow me to use this and pick what's the color, and is this one. Let's see how this looks in our application. So the background color, let's use this color. Yeah, it's better in this case. So let's create another color in the light them and dark them. So in this case, I'm going to create background. In this case, we are going to use these backgrounds in the list, like issues and like, for example, test case. So we can call it list background color. Will be our picked color in the like them. So this here, but definitely I don't want this color in the dark them. So for that, I'm going to use search this color, and is this like gray color. So for the dark them, probably we need to pick something like this one. Of course, we will test that. So in dark them, we need to use copy the resource, in this case the color, and we are going to change the picked color to this one. Okay. Okay. Cool. So in the test case view, we don't want any background color in the collection view, because we want to take the background color from the page. So I'm going to use set the background color, in this case to transparent, and I think that it's time to define the filter. Well, we can improve this a little bit. Let me move to the issue item template. We don't need so wide margins. We can use eliminate row spacing between the rows. Yes, and this will have the rest of the space, and this will be auto. Cool, I think that we have it. Probably this will change. I have other ideas related with that, like for example, we can show here our own icon with all the different platforms. We can do that later, but let's create a filter, the filter item that will be very, very similar to the previous case. We will have, in this case, a grid, a frame. By the way, probably many of you knows about very beautiful and nice community plugins like, I don't know, Xamarin.Forms, Fairy Transitions, Pancake View, about, I don't know, there are the Sharknado stuff and other stuff. But in this case, remember that this will be an application, the core gallery application, to demonstrate the possibilities directly using Xamarin.Forms. So we are creating everything just using Xamarin.Forms stuff. In this case, we are using frames for corner radius and you are using other stuff used to validate everything. But we are not going to use any plugin, any community plugin or anything external to the Xamarin.Forms core. Okay, so let me create a resource here. I had the feeling that I'm going a little bit slowly with this view. Probably I can just push more, but okay. So these are the three filters. We will have a label with binding. Okay. Now let's define the style for the filter container. That is a frame. And the key will be filter container style. Okay, so let's create a setter here with a property corner radius value, for example, and let's assign the style static resource. Come on. Okay, this is totally wrong. I'm assigning the style to the label and style is in the frame. Okay, so let's continue defining things. I don't want padding, so this will be 0. The padding will be defined by the label. We need probably another state in this case for the label. Filter text style. The text style will be a label, and the label will have a font size small, micro. Okay, and we are going to define a margin of 6 pixels, 6 everywhere, and we will align this to the center. So horizontal alignment will be center, vertical alignment will be center. Okay, so let's remove now the defined aid that we set it somewhere here, I guess. Yeah, this will be auto. And now filter. Okay, so the date request in this case will be something like this. And here is where we are going to use the Visual State Manager to change the color of the frame. So let me continue. What's wrong here? So we have something wrong here. Why is this so weight? This must be smaller. So what is the size that we set it in the view? Yeah, I see. Probably something like that is enough. Something more, I think that this will be fine. And now let's remove the shadow. Where are the filters? Here. Let's remove the shadow. Shadow false. Cool. Okay. Okay, So, well, it's more or less what I wanted, but still we need to define more stuff, like for example, this case here, where are we setting the padding? Nowhere. That's correct. Here we need a margin. So in the filter template, we are going to define a small margin here. Let's see how this looks. Not bad, but if we do something like this, we need to remove the hidden spacing in the layout, because if not, it's too much. And now we need to change the colors. So let me go to the test case view. This is row 2, row 3, filters, test case. Okay. This is the search bar. This is the header. Okay. So we need to define the background color. We can do that at page level. Will be background color. Cool. And now well, we need some colors for these filters. Of course, we want to adapt these to different conditions, so we need to define different colors in the different results, but we need more things. For example, in this collection view, we need to define the selection mode will be multiple. And now let me open the Xamarin.Forms repo to show you something very quickly. We need to define some header like this. Also, I don't remember, for example, section title is the name. So in this case, we are going to create a title here. To do something like this, we need to define this in a grid. Will be grid row 3, and this will wrap the label and the collection view. We need to close the grid. So if we refresh and navigate to this case, we can define a section title. Probably will be exactly the same. Will be exactly the same that we had defined here in the main page. So it's a candidate to use move to the default them. But for now, just to see the result, I'm going to use this section title here, and we need to define a grid row with 2 rows. This will be grid row 1. Yes, this will be a auto 8. The second one will be the rest of the space. So yeah, we have the search bar, we have the all the enormous list, and we have the showcase title. We need more stuff to complete this view, like define the visual state to select the different filters, and we need also to complete the pairings of every showcase item. A close icon here to use navigate back to the main view, but well, it's starting looking as I wanted. So let's continue a little bit more. We can continue maybe with the issue item template. I'm going to just open the Xamarin.Forms repo to see how we can define visual states inside items for a collection view and take advantage of the default visual state that all the views in Xamarin.Forms have, that are 4. One of them is selected, so we are going to use the selected one to use change the background color when in this case the filter is selected. While we are doing that, we need some margins, paddings, and stuff. And I'm going to move to this test case view, and this all style will change. We are going to create a style for the filters collection style. We want a small margin, in this case 0 and 12 will be nice. And now as seen here, the style, to get some extra space in between these items. Of course, we need more space here. Is something like that. Okay, now we have more space between all these items. Cool. So yeah, what I was talking about was the selected visual state. So here, these are all the issues, and in the galleries we have a visual state gallery where we can test all the visual states options directly with small samples. And if I remember well, we have a specific sample to do something like that. Let me try to find it. I don't remember what is the case, so probably we can just create it from scratch. But let me search by Xmain selected to try to find the sample. So maybe it's this case. Yeah, I think that is this case. So yeah, it's very simple. So in the issue item template inside the frame, we are defining a visual state. We are not doing nothing new with the normal state, but in the selected one, we are going to change the background color. In this case, as you can see, is for a blue color. So if we just modify this a little bit using another color, like for example, I think that we have an accent color, we can test this very quickly. Let's align this correctly. Yes. Okay, come on. I get to test case, and when I select items, it's not doing nothing because there are something wrong. What's wrong? I don't know. So when the stake is selected, I want to change the color to accent color. This looks correct. I don't know. So yeah, let me test it in another way. Maybe I copy it very quickly. So in our test page, let me test it in this case here in the filters. No, it's not working. I'm doing something, probably something wrong. So let me move here. So if the state is selected, we change the background color to accent color. Accent color is correct, is defined here, and is, what is this purple color? Yeah, good question. That the question was if I have this accent color defined. Yes, it's in the default theme. This is the first thing that I thought that was failing, but it's not. So not sure what's failing now. Let me take a look. I don't know. We are changing directly. So the visual state is defined in this frame. And we are changing the frame background color that is defined here. From this color to the accent color. Well, looks correct. Let me see if it's not any error related with how to reload. If anyone in the chat is knowing what's happening, let me know. Okay. There are some styles somewhere that is failing. We have style target type grid is not compatible with the stack layout. Not sure where, but maybe it's this one. This is a grid, right? Yes. This is in the frame. Yes. So target type is not a grid. Where do you mean? So this must be working. I'm not sure why this is not working, but well, I will take a look and we will continue probably in the next streaming to be able to create another view. But yeah, you catch the idea, right? We allow different, well, we have the selection enabled, right? So this case, yeah, it's multiple. Okay, so damn. So let's remove this color. Oh, damn. We are using the issue item template, this list. We are trying to use select this other list. It's the wrong list. I just detected using how to reload and changing the colors. So yeah, that's the error. Let's remove that. Let's copy this. Let's move to the correct template. That is the filter item template. This is the correct one. And now inside this frame, we can just set the visual state. Okay. And now if we launch this, I think that probably will be working. Let's see. Okay. Oh no, it's not working. Now what's happening? Frame, filter container. So if we set a color here, let's see that we are in the correct way. Yes, and let's go to, this is the filter item, test case, filters, selection mode is multiple, so must be working. Okay. So filter item template, we don't want this background color, we have this frame, common states, I don't know. Well, this must be working. It's not, but must be working. We are not using this filter test anywhere, so let's assign here. Okay. So I'm thinking what could be failing, but I don't know exactly now what's failing. So let me launch Core Gallery and navigate to this sample to show you what I'm trying to do, and I will take a look to what's happening with more core to continue creating another view, and maybe I will get more time to use know what's failing. So for example, if I navigate to the collection view samples, we have a selection gallery, and inside the selection gallery, I don't know what's this sample selection mode. Let me search where we are using this sample. Find reference, and in the selection galleries, well, the first one is this case, and here if we enable selection multiple, this background that you are seeing here is used this style that is applied to the to the template to change the color of the selected option. So I will debug this tomorrow. I'm now curious what is failing. I don't know. So in this case, for example, the item template is that is this grid, and we are just defining this style to modify the color. We can try something like that. We have here a grid in the filter, so we can define this style, and well, this must change all the grid parent background color, not the frame one, but let's see if I capture what is wrong. No, it's not working. Something is wrong somewhere, and I'm not seeing what's wrong. This must work. Well, we'll debug it tomorrow. Now let's continue, but you captured the idea, right? We can use visual state used to modify the selected color, and we will have filters. We have the search. We will connect the logic the next day to use filter this list. Probably we're going to do this the next day. For now, the only thing that I really will do to complete this view is here in the header section. We included this label with the title, but we need other thing similar to this frame where we included this icon from a font image source. In this case, what I want is an image here, but in this case, this image that will appear here very high. So we are going to create two columns. The first one will be the title, so the rest, all the space available. And for the icon, we will use an auto option. Auto. So what's more, let me move this to the grid column 1. Okay, now that is looking a little bit better. The other thing that I want to change is this is not the primary color, will be always white because the background will not change. And the other thing is that I don't want the search icon. I want, for example, Windows close. Yeah, well, it's not fine, but I don't remember the naming of the icons. So I remember a perfect icon for this case, but don't remember the name. So probably we'll leave someone and we'll search between all these lists with more calm. Oh, Steven, how are you? Thanks for joining. And Hamus, thank you for all the comments in the chat. So I don't remember what's the exactly icon in the, well, in this case I'm just using the a custom font. The custom font is defined here in Adem, and I'm using font awesome. And for font awesome, we have this enormous list with you know, all the icons from the font, but I don't remember what is the close icon, so probably I will just put someone and we'll take a look with more calm and we'll replace it more later. So let's put something for now. So in the test case here, let's put this Windows close. Cool work. Of course, we need here a gesture. So image, you know, gesture recognizer. We need a tab gesture to use invoke a command or an event and do something like this to close, you know, the view. So open and close, and oh, so streaming will start in 50 minutes. So I have only 50 minutes to complete the rest. I'm not sure if I will be able to do that. Let's create another view very quickly, and we'll try to not spend too much time and allow you to see Steven, because I'm pretty sure that will be a very nice streaming. So from the original list, I don't know if you remember the list. We have the welcome page, the timeline page, and the detail gallery. We can create, for example, the welcome page now because it's a very simple one. Let's create another view that is called, in this case, welcome view. We need to change our navigation. Because the main page now is gallery view, we need to change this to welcome view. Okay, now let me clean up this a little bit. Let me open this and this, and well, there are time to do everything. So it's amazing. I'm really happy to see how every time there are more and more people just doing streamings, and you, Steven, is one of the person of the community that probably have beautiful content to do very nice streaming. So I'm very happy that you started the streaming, and yeah, the community is growing up, and there are more and more people use streaming in Twitch with very nice Xamarin content. And yeah, it's very nice because in fact this situation is fantastic when the people use must to choose what to see in this time is amazing. It's better that than not have nothing or nobody streaming about this or not streaming about nice stuff. So this is a fantastic situation, in fact. So I'm going to hide the navigation bar in this page. False. Let me reload this, and we are going to create in this case something close to this first screen, and this will be very easy to do. So let's start it with this one. So let's create a grid. So by start we will, well, my idea, my original idea was use a media element, and I searched it before the streaming here some content in this free video stock where we can find very nice videos. And I found some videos with some, abstract backgrounds and some bubbles and things like that. And my idea, probably not for today, if I want to complete this in 50 minutes more or less, but my idea for this streaming, or more or less for the final version of this view, is have abstract video in the background, use moving bubbles and things like that. But for today, I'm going to use the same image that we are using here in the header as background. That is the header background. It's not totally correct, but let's start doing this. Okay, so we have some image in the background. Now, well, we will need divide this in different, organize the items, so we can use a grid and divide in different rows. For example, we can create one row for, in this case, probably the icon of the application, that in this case will be the Xamarin.Forms icon. We can use create another row to set a welcome test, and then we need more rows in this case to define the different buttons. So let me divide this in different rows. So for example, grid row definition, we will create different rows. Okay, so now the image must use row span 3 to fill all the space. Then we need to create some resource because we need 2 buttons. Okay, so in the last option, we are going to create stack layout, for example, with 2 buttons. The first button will be something like see what's new, and the second one will be something like browse gallery. Okay, so let's create a style for these buttons. This will be grid row 2, and here will be target type button. Then the key will be not sure, probably we are going to reuse this style in more place, but at the moment I'm going to create the welcome button style with different properties. Let's set the style to the buttons, then the style to this other button. Come on. Cool. So the first one will be what's wrong here? Corner radius 12, for example. There's something wrong. What's wrong? Let me take a look. Come on. So what's wrong? Property not set. Oh yeah, this is property, not target name. Okay, let's continue. So let's style a little bit these controls. So over the match, and to see everything better, we are going to define a grid with row span 3, 2. In this grid, we are going to create a basic style that is, for example, a background layer style, where we are going to define an opacity and set the background color to use the accent color. Accent color. Okay, this will be used here. And now we can just continue with the buttons. So let's create more properties. One of them will be margin. We will use something like this. Cool. The background color will be transparent. The text color will be white. Okay. Now we need to define a border color. Border color. The value will be the same. I mean white. Okay. Static result, white color, and let's define the border width to something like this. Okay, let's increase a little bit the corners. Probably 24 is what I'm waiting for. Cool. So now this is the buttons. This is the not the buttons, not that, is that. This is the background. And let's define now the header that will be used a grid. Probably we will define an image that will be the Xamarin.Forms logo that I don't know if we have between the assets. So let me take a look. No, we don't have it. Okay, so this will be the Xamarin.Forms logo, and then this will be the first grid, and in the second one we are going to define a welcome message or something like that. So here we are going to define different labels with different text. Okay, so let's define the content, for example, test. So welcome to Xamarin.Forms core gallery. So explore the different showcase and galleries to know the Xamarin.Forms possibilities and take a look to the coming section, or to what's new section, to what's new. Okay, let me update this. This now looks horrible. Let's define different rows. So this will be grid row 1. Of course, we need now to define different size. So this will be like something like this. Now let's define the style for this. This is a grid. Okay, let's define the style for the labels. So we need two labels. One of them is the welcome title, and the other one probably is the welcome subtitle. These are labels. The first thing that we need to define to see something correctly is define the text color to the white color. We don't want the opacity, at least in the title, not. Now let's assign these styles here. If we want to create this application in a correct way, we cannot embed this text directly here in XAML, and probably we need to use localized resource. But at the moment, just to test that everything looks correct, let's use test in this way. Okay, cool. So let's define something like a padding here. Let's change the font size here and here too. So this font size will be something like large. Cool. And this font size will be something like small. Font size, come on, small. Okay, so now let's see. This will be the 8 auto, and let's define some margins and paddings. So for example, in the title we can define a margin to give some space in the right side, right? Probably more. This is too much. Okay, something like this, and the same. We're going to do the same with the subtitle, just giving some space between title and subtitle. Cool. Now we only need to define a style for the logo that will be, at the moment we don't have the image, but we can define it. So welcome logo style, we're going to use an image. The aspect will be fit, and then we are going to define the height. The width will be something like this, and to see the image we need to define a color. So at the moment we are going to define a background color to for example white. The white color will not looks nice, but will be correct. to just set the position of the logo. Okay, so that's it. We need to customize a little bit this and this with the alignment. The horizontal alignment will be at the beginning and the vertical one too, and then we are going to give some margins like this. Oh no, this. So more or less it's very big, probably something more smaller will fit better. So this will be our welcome Xamarin.Forms page. We will have the Xamarin.Forms logo. Probably we'll put some text here too. Welcome to Xamarin.Forms. See what's new, and then browse gallery. Browse gallery will navigate to the gallery. That is, let's do this very quickly. So welcome page, and now we can change this for comments later, but this will be the on browse gallery clicked. In this case, we want to use navigate to the gallery view. So let's test this quickly. Welcome page. Remember that in the welcome page, I don't want this background image. I want a beautiful video just moving some bubbles and some stuff in the background. Or at least we can just animate the background with a Xamarin.Forms animation, maybe zoom in and zoom out very smoothly and slowly. And when I press the browse browse gallery, we navigate to this view. That is the main view. We can navigate also to the test case. Remember that this our list with the title, close buttons, the filters, and all the issues. This will not be showcase. This must be something like test case or maybe issues. We'll see. But at the moment test case. So now we can close this. We have this main view, and what's happened here, we need to decide if we want to allow to navigate back to the welcome page or not. Probably my main idea is not. Just clear the stack in the navigation to remove the back button, and we only will see this screen at the beginning one time. And also we will include flyout, and in the flyout we can allow to navigate to to the about section, to navigate also to the welcome page again, and all this stuff. But at the moment I think that this is fine. Not sure if someone have still energy to continue doing some stuff. After that, my main idea was to just see what's new. See what's new is the timeline, and the timeline will be a design very close to this one. So the idea is close to the issue section, create some fake service to get, for example, the last 2 or 3 Xamarin.Forms versions, and the sample will be very close to other one that I created recently. Let me show it. I don't remember what's the name of the sample. Let me navigate here to my profile, and between the repositories I think that must be food delivery app. No, what's shopping list. So I created this shopping list that at the end, as you can see, is a header, and when we expand we see a list of other items, and we also have a small effect that keep continuity in the left side. And well, if we move to here to this design, well, this is the header. We will expand here. The header will just say the Xamarin.Forms version, and expanding we will give all the information, all the new functionality and fixes released in this version. And here in the left side we only will show the release date, so releasing, I don't know, 12th of May and stuff like that. So this will be release date and this will be releases. So yeah, I think that I can just end the streaming here, because we probably will need like 40 minutes, 30-40 minutes to do this stuff. So yeah, let's continue this stuff in next weeks. So I will leave this today. We'll commit this with this state. The only thing that I will probably do when I complete and end the streaming is replace this with the Xamarin.Forms logo. I need to start searching for a nice font to use here. Then we have here the gallery, and we'll take a look what's happening here, and probably will take some minutes to talk about this in the next streaming. We'll complete the logic to search and filter, and just filter all this list. We'll add also the close logic. Also, we'll replace this icon for the correct one. It's just an X. And with that, we will continue from this point with the timeline and the detail gallery. The timeline is this view, and the detail gallery is just pressing box view. Well, my idea is just use this color to the header, set the icon and the title, and then we will have a list of items probably similar to this one, but to get more advantage of the space, probably we will use two columns in the collection view to just create something like this, right? So yeah, that's all. Probably we will give some other effects on next week, like for example this, we can move this to use a corner radius like in this way. I think that gives a small effect that is nice. And yeah, we created today 2 views. I expected to do 3 ones, but I think that is fine. And the next day I hope to do other 2 views, but this will not be on next week, because let me remember you that on next week we will have the bill. And please don't miss the 7th, because will be very nice and exciting news about Xamarin and other .NET technologies in the event. And in next week my idea is do a streaming probably not in Wednesday, because the bill is the next Tuesday and Wednesday, and my idea is to use maybe the Thursday or maybe the Friday to do a streaming to talk about some of the exciting news that you will see on next week. So yeah, next week we'll talk about some of the build new features. There are a lot of stuff, so not sure if we will be able to cover everything in one streaming. So probably in the next streaming or 2 streamings we will be talking about some stuff presented in the build. And after that, we will recover the core gallery and we'll continue from the last point. That is just continue with the timeline and the detail gallery. Of course, all the work that we are doing is committed. I'm going to commit just now to the repo that is Xamarin.Forms gallery. So if you want to use get something and play with something, use access to the gallery and play with it. So we need to search some colors for this stuff to get the correct appearance. Probably I will leave this also for the next streaming. So I leave you. If you want to join to the Steven streaming, I probably will do too. It looks interesting. I'm really excited to do the timeline view because it's an interesting one, but I will cut now because I don't want to get this too long. Probably you are tired or need a break. So I will end here, have your break, and then enjoy the rest of your day or afternoon or night. Thanks so much for joining me today, and see you again on next streaming. And will be very excited one because we will talk about new features. So see you on next streaming. Bye, everyone.